when you look at all the evidence together, when you look at the evidence from Mesopotamia and the early Epic of Gilgamesh, the earliest traditions from Mesopotamia pointing to Mount Mashu, the Twin Peaks, I believe that that tradition points very strongly to Mount Ararat in eastern Turkey, and we have several locations that we are looking at and researching right now, and I got to say that there are things that we are finding on the high elevations on Mount Ararat. It's too early to say right now exactly what they are, but I can tell you we have found organic material, we have found wood, and at this point in the process, it's too early to say. I know I don't want to get your hopes up, but I will say that the research is ongoing. But this is not to try to burst your bubble or anything, because in archaeology, when you're at a site, sometimes it takes a decade or more to do the publication. So we're not publishing any of our official findings until we gather all the information. So all I can share with you now is that we believe our team, and we have a very broad international team, that we are at the right mountain, and we have found some things that are very interesting. We are continuing to test those things, but they're, even apart from what we have found, we believe that there is a very strong tradition that points to some major cataclysmic event that destroyed the earth, and that human populations repopulated the earth around in that area. That is where the oldest archaeological sites in the world are located, there in southern Anatolia and also in eastern Turkey. Also, and I don't have a slide for it, but let me say this. There was a multidisciplinary study that was done over a decade, and it was published, I believe, last year in 2023. And I believe it was the University of Vienna, Austria. Also, I believe Harvard or Yale may have taken part in this. But here are the three disciplines that they were involved in. It was essentially what the research project wanted to do was to trace the origins of the Indo-European civilization. So in other words, Europe and Asia, where did the people come from in Europe and Asia? Multidisciplinary, and they did it with three things: archaeology, linguistics, and ethnography. All of the arrows, guess where they pointed to? This is independent areas. It all pointed to eastern Turkey and southern Anatolia. So it's remarkable. And they were not trying to prove the flood story or the flood traditions, but if the flood traditions in the Bible and the Epic of Gilgamesh are pointing to a real event, then this is what would make sense, that humans are spreading out the languages. There's one language, was one parent language, and genetics, human genetics, all points to and all converges into southern Anatolia. And one of the threads that we're following, in addition to researching artifacts that we're discovering in and around Mount Ararat, is that we're also looking at pottery traditions around that area. And one of the pottery traditions is called Khirbet Kirak ware. It gets that name from Israel, but the pottery, we believe, if it's the oldest pottery traditions, it's going to come from southern Anatolia and spread out through the ancient Near East. So that's one of the threads is that we are following out. In fact, this has been done. It was suggested years ago by a British archaeologist by the name of Charles Burney, and he published a book on it called People of the Hills. It is the archaeology of southern Anatolia. And one of my colleagues, actually in Israel, Dr. Stephen Fawn, and his doctoral students and now professors, Dr. Fawn actually wrote the article on Khirbet Kirak ware and the Anchor Bible Dictionary. And so this is another area that we're tracing. So all of this to say that it's not just, in looking at the evidence for the Ark, we're looking at the broad archaeological question. We're looking at the broadest possible scenario. We're looking at all the pottery traditions. We're looking at Mesopotamia. We're looking at the Epic of Gilgamesh. We're looking at genetics. We're looking at all of it together. So again, to my part of my research is the survey team. So part of archaeological surveying is that we survey the area first, we get the broad picture, and then we go and we drill into one area. And right now we're focusing our attention in eastern Turkey on on and around Mount Ararat. And I'll be excited to share with you when we publish any of our results. I will let you guys know, Jacob, and let your team know, and I'll be glad to come back and share what we have found out officially. But I will say that so far it's very promising and very exciting, and I believe that there's a very strong tradition that the flood really happened as it's in the scripture, and that we have got the proper area that we're looking at. And it's especially today, when you think about the way the world's going today, our world seems like it's getting crazier by the day. And didn't Jesus say, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man? So wouldn't it be amazing to find some archaeological evidence of Noah's Ark and the flood during these days that we may be living in the days of Noah, in the days of the coming of the Son of Man? So that's not our motivation, but it certainly does figure into the meaning of this discovery.